Hello, this is Ciara from Ciara T Designs, and today I have a video for you on the Joy Clair YouTube channel. So let's jump in. So to start, I am going to show you here how I trim down my Slimline cards. I only have the smaller Tim Holtz trimmer here, and it's 6 inches. And of course, the Slimline card, when I cut them, I just take my full sheet and then I cut off 4 inches, making it a 7-inch by 8.5-inch card. And then I like to score at the 3.5 mark, making my score line at 3.5. So then I have a half card there. So when it's folded, it measures 3.5 by 8.5. And I have had a little bit of trouble with it overlapping a little. I'm not quite getting my score line straight, as again, I have a smaller scoreboard. So I have just been trimming off a little bit of the edges when it does that, and that's not really been any problem for me. So in this release, I am featuring 2 of the Joy Clair Designs brand new stamps, digital stamp sets, and I have here the Seasonal Leaves background stamp set, and I've got that printed out on a piece of 80-pound Neenah solar white paper, and I did lay this out in Photoshop. If you have any questions about digital cards or digital stamp sets, please let me know and I'll happily answer as much as I can, but I do use Photoshop to do my layouts, and then I just use my printer to print it out. And I have an inkjet printer, which is why I like to use my Copics, because I don't have a laser printer yet. I'm hoping to get one soon, but I don't have one yet, so I can't use some of the other mediums I would like to use, but soon, hopefully. And we're going to see later that I'm going to use a sentiment from the Love Endures brand new stamp set from Joy Clair Designs. But to start here, so I'm going to try to use, these were the closest Copics I had to what I felt were fall colors. And I'm kind of laying them down randomly because it's just kind of going to be a really colorful background, but in a more fall color palette. As you guys know, if you've seen stuff that I've created before, I generally like to work in very bright colors. But I wanted to push myself to kind of try to create something that's a bit different for me. So that's what kind of birthed this card a little bit for me, is that it's me trying to work in a different way with different colors. So for my Copics, I'm using Y17, YG23, YR09, E25, YG67, YR27, and then at the end we will bring in 100, which is the black, and go over the open negative space. So I'm just laying the color down wherever it interests me. There's no real rhyme or reason to how I'm doing it. And every once in a while, if I feel like the colors are a bit too bright, you'll see me go over them in one of the paler colors, like the light green or the yellow, because that just tones down the color a little bit. Not a lot, but enough that it kind of blends them a little bit together, because they're not meant to blend together. Like, that was not my intention here. I was trying for a more patchwork-esque looking leaves, just for kind of a different look. Like, it was just kind of a fun way to use my Copic markers that I've never used them in before, and to really have a background shine without taking away from it. Because that's the stamp set, right? This background is the whole pretty much focus of this card, and I just really wanted to use bright colors that were a more fall-esque pattern, or sorry, palette, and these were just the ones that I have. I don't own every Copic marker, so maybe one day, but they're a little bit pricey, so it takes some time to kind of get them in your collection. And I only buy a couple at a time if I feel like I'm missing a few colors. So I don't have them all, so this is what I found that was the closest to what I was kind of aiming for in my collection. And then once everything was colored in with those colors, I did bring in the 100 Copic marker, which is the black. And I'm just going to go around all of the images and fill them in with the black. And that's kind of going to be the whole background. This does take a little while. This is probably the most time-consuming part, because when I'm doing the leaves, of course, I know I'm going to go over them in black. So if I went out of the leaf a little bit, it didn't really matter, because I knew I was going to go back over it in black. So it wasn't a huge concern for me. But this was kind of just a really fun way to make your background black, but starting on white color cardstock, so that it's still, the colors are still so vibrant, and you don't have to worry about the markers not being a true color. You could absolutely do the same kind of idea with like pencil crayons or other mediums. I'd love to try this similar idea in watercolors once I get a laser printer, but for now, this was kind of the fun way to just try something that's a bit different. And I did take off both the caps to my marker. Oh, where's one of my kitties? I did take both the caps off to this 100 marker because it's quite full. And if you start to see your nib be very juicy, like it looks like it's going to drip on your project, take the other lid off, because it will help. We say pressurize, although it's not exactly pressurized, but it just helps so the ink doesn't try to flow out of the end that's open. So I took both caps off of my marker so that it wouldn't drip on my background and create a bit of a problem. And I am going to add a sentiment a little bit later, but this does take a little bit of time. This is pretty much the bulk of the video, and I did speed this up quite a bit. This is sped up about 6 times faster than I actually color. I like to leave in the coloring. A lot of people have reached out to me on my personal channel and said that they like to see the Copic coloring, so I leave it in. But I do speed it up so it doesn't take too long, because I mean, you actually have to sit there and watch me do this, that might take a while, but it's a lot of fun. So here you see that I bring in my yellow marker and just kind of go over a little bit one of the leaves that I felt wasn't melding at all really well. And then here I have a pearlescent color. This is one of the Fine Tech watercolors, and this is Pearl Gold. And I'm going to just splash that across the background to add a little bit of texture. I find that gold goes really well with fall colors, so I just kind of thought that'd be kind of fun. So I just put a couple of drops of water into the paint and then just swirled it around with one of my Zen watercolor brushes and then flicked it onto the background. And then when a couple areas felt like they were lacking a little bit, so I did just dot them down with my paintbrush. And you can see on the bottom there that one leaf in the left corner got a little bit more than I meant for it. It's going to get the same problem from the black. I guess that's just where my hand was sitting. And we're going to cover that up with a sentiment, so you're not even going to see it later, so it's not going to matter. But I did make a little boo-boo there. But it's pretty easy to clean up, so that's okay. So I'm also using the deep black. This is supposed to be, they're both pearlescent. They're from the Fine Tech pearlescent set, but it didn't really look pearlescent. I mean, I'll show you in the end here when I hold it up and kind of show you the shine, but it didn't really look pearlescent to me, but that's okay. So I have here some Delicata ink and gold, and I am using the thanks from the Love Endures Joy Clair digital stamp set. And I just stamped that out onto a scrap piece of black paper. Now, ideally, if I had been thinking about this, I would have used that same 100 black marker and colored on a piece of white cardstock, because then it would have perfectly matched my black background. It didn't occur to me until after I'd kind of glued this down and been like, oh, I should have done that because they would have matched better. But I didn't think about it, so I didn't do it. So there is a little color variation between my black paper and my black colored cardstock there, but it's not hugely obvious, but you can tell a little bit as you stare at the card. But I mean, it was already down and I wasn't going to peel it up, so I left it. I have some Gina K foam squares here, and they are the black foam squares. I love these behind the black cardstock. Then you can't see where I've kind of stuck this down, which is nice. I find that I've been using the black, well, I'm almost out, so I've used almost all of them up. I'll have to pick up some more, but I quite enjoy that because it's not a super thick foam tape either, so I really like that. And then I'm going to use my Nuvo Deluxe glue, and I'm going to stick this down onto my side fold card base that we did a little bit earlier. And that's pretty much all for that. And then we're going to move on to putting down some gems, because I couldn't resist. You could have left it here, but I have a few gems in my stash, and honestly, I really like to bring them in and use them. So I have here, this is, I believe it's Pretty Pink Posh's Essential Jewels set, and I picked out both the black ones and the gold bronzy-esque ones because they really kind of went beautifully with this fall colored card. And now I smattered quite a few on here. Again, this is an extra, it's not a necessity, but I love how they end up looking. I just love adding jewels to my cards, especially when it's kind of just ties in the background in the fall colors, and it's just kind of a fun way to sparkle up your card a little bit, although there is a fair amount of sparkle here. It's not a super subtle card, but I think that it looked really well with this this background. So here you go. I'm going to bring it up and show it to you so you can see all that sparkle and glitter. If you like this card, please leave me a like, leave me a comment, and if you consider subscribing to the channel, that would be amazing. Thank you so much, guys, and I cannot wait to see you again. Bye-bye for now.